Welcome to the Music Nut program. I am John the Music Nut. Thank you so much for joining me today as we continue. It's Smithereens Saturday with the Smithereens' fourth album, 1991's Blow Up on Capitol Records, their last album on Capitol Records. This would give the band their second and final top 40 hit to date. This would hit number 120 on the US charts. As for the band, same band intact. Pat Denizio, main songwriter, as well as vocals, guitar, and harmonica. Jim Babchek on guitars. Dennis Dyken on drums. Mike Messeros on bass. And Ed Stasium back in the production seat again. And a lot of guests on here. And this time, I'm going to read it from the liner notes. Alex Acuna on percussion, Max Babchak on backing vocals, Steve Berlin on saxophones, Carlene Carter on backing vocals, as well as the Cowsills on backing vocals, Diana Griselli on backing vocals, Michael Hamilton on additional guitar, keyboards, and mellotron, the fifth Smithereen, Kenny Margolis on Hammond organ, piano, and keyboards, Kevin Savigar on keyboards, as well as the string section, which we have on 3 tracks. On violins, we got Sid Page, Joel Derwin, Urge Garabedian, and Michelle Richards. On cellos, we have Larry Corbett, Susie Katayama, and Melissa Hasten, and they were arranged and conducted by David Campbell. We also have Maria Vidal making a return appearance on backing vocals, and Ed Stasium also playing some percussion and backing vocals. How's the album? Well, this album sounds like an attempt to get into radio. The guitars are reined in. We got Ed Stasium here producing, but the guitars aren't punchy this time, except for a couple tracks. The production's very reined in. Furthermore, we have songs co-written with Julian Lennon, who you may know not only as John Lennon's son, but also having some hits on his own, like Too Late for Goodbyes and Velotte, and I'll Stick Around, as well as Diane Warren. Diane Warren, hit-making machine, who got Cheap Trick back on the charts, who wrote Aerosmith's biggest charting single, and wrote a ton of songs for other artists. She co-writes a song with Pat here. This was released when Nirvana's Nevermind was released. And when that broke, the record companies started putting all their money and time and attention into those artists. So it hurt bands like the Smithereens, because the Smithereens were getting played on alternative rock stations, college rock stations, AOR stations. They were only getting played on adult contemporary stations at this point because of the second single. So what happened was they lost that attention and they weren't getting played as much at this point, except for the 2 singles, which would be on the album and would lead off the album, Top of the Pops, which they play second to this day in their live sets after Behind the Wall Sleep. This will be the first single. It's very catchy, and it's a straight ahead rocker with a great bridge on it with some boogie woogie piano in the background. It sounds really cool. You got Maria Vidal here on backing vocals. You got some cool backing vocals in the background during the fade out as well. So they continue that trend with their first song on the album. And it's a very strong track. And the second track would be Too Much Passion. Now, Too Much Passion has that 1966 Baroque feel I've been talking about. One of the 3 songs on here with the string section. It hit number 37 on Billboard, and it hit number 32 on the adult contemporary charts. No matter when a song is released, a great song is a great song, and that's how I feel about this one. I think this is a fantastic track. And they don't play this song anymore because of the string section. So, meaning the Smithereens don't play this live. The modern production sounds great on this. It sounded really good on adult contemporary radio. But the band is all on their glory here. The ad-libbing from Pat is very strong. It's very well-crafted song. 60s song made contemporary. Great song. And the last single off the album. Because what would happen, as I noted, the record company wasn't putting the money in the album anymore because they were going behind the more cooler and hipper bands. Tell me, when did things go so wrong? This is a straight up rocker where a harmonica in it, poignant lyric about how in the past we would rebel against things. We wouldn't always do as we were told, and now we're all standing in line. This was Pat's first song you could say was political. Strong track, 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Very good. Evening Dress. Elegant love song. Another great bridge. More of a country feel with the guitar solo from Jim Babchak on here. Very well done. Another good song. And then from here, the songwriting doesn't have the craftsmanship that you have on the first three albums. Get a Hold of My Heart. This is the song that Pat wrote with Diane Warren. Blatant stab at adult contemporary, and it just doesn't sound like the Smithereens to me. It's a decent song, but a decent bridge, but it doesn't have that hook that Too Much Passion has. Not one of my favorites. Indigo Blues, which has Steve Berlin on sax. This rocks a little bit, has a decent breakdown with the vocals and the finger snaps and the bass line. It's a decent song, but it feels really long. It's like 5 minutes, and it just feels draggy by the Smithereens standards. We go to the second half of the album, Now and Then. Pat and Jim Babchak wrote this. We got nice harmonies on here. The harmonies are a little higher. We have a nice bridge again, has a Byrds feel to it. The guitars still sound a little too reined in for me. It's a decent track. Next two tracks I think are pretty good deep cuts. Girl in Room 12, the guitars are back to rocking again. They got that punch again like you had on Top of the Pops. Tight-spirited rocker here. You got a cool, really noisy guitar solo from Jim on here, which he doesn't really put the distortion pedal on much, but here it sounds really well, really strong. Nice, well-written power pop. This is a very good track, as is Anywhere You Are, which is very 60s in its feel. And now we add to the bands that they're paying tribute to. This sounds a lot like the Zombies, Time of the Season, with the acoustic guitar, the use of echo, the Hammond organ played by Kenny Margolis on here. Nice bass playing behind the keyboards on here. Another song of lost love with an upbeat musical accompaniment. Darker lyrics. Patton is the O's gift. Over and over again. Nice bridge, nice wordplay in the verses. Musically, it's okay. It doesn't really stand out by the Smithereens standards, in my opinion. And that goes double for It's All Right. Again, decent bridge, but very repetitive lyrically. I don't even know if I wouldn't even say it's all right. It's just not all right by their standards. It's just my opinion on that. If You Want the Sun to Shine, this is the co-write with Julian Lennon. This is the last song of the album. It's very Beatles-esque, lyrically, with the strings, even in the bridge. There are nice harmonies on this. This is the third album in a row we're ending on a more whimsical note. The strings are really prominent on here. They're actually carrying the weight. But the song itself feels kind of slight by Pat's standards again. It's hard for me to say that about a band that I love and a songwriter I have so much respect for. But the last three songs on this album aren't, it's like Pat's running out of gas a little bit, like perhaps like writer's block. I hate to say that because I told him that I thought he was one of the best songwriters of the last 25 years. So it doesn't end on the strongest note, but there is a lot to recommend on this album. Top of the Pops is very good. Too Much Passion's a fantastic single. Anywhere You Are, Girl in Room 12 are both nice deep cuts. Evening Dress is a great love song. So there is still a lot to offer on here, but it doesn't have the consistency of the previous three albums. This would be the last album that would be on Capitol Records. Too Much Passion would be the second and last single from the album for the reasons I mentioned earlier. They would get picked up on by RCA for their next album, 1994's A Date with the Smithereens. That will be the next episode. So, what do you think of this album? What do you remember about the song Too Much Passion? A song that was great, and we never hear it anymore. What do you think of the song Top of the Pops that also hit AOR? It hit number 19 on AOR, by the way. Let me know in the comments what you think, and if you think some of these songs just feel like a blatant stab of getting on adult contemporary radio. Because the thing about adult contemporary radio is you might get played on the radio, but you're not going to get the album sales that you were once getting. And I think that was part of it. I think a lot of it, of course, was the fact that the musical industry changed very quickly after Nirvana and Pearl Jam really broke. So we'll continue the series next week. Thank you so much for joining me today. Until I see you again, do what you love, and I'll talk to you soon.